This is Dr. Brain. I'm going to present you with a series of neuroanatomical slides. I think these are very interesting, and I hope that you will share them with me, share the knowledge that I'm going to impart with you. We're going to start with the upper cervical cord. Most of these slides will be stained with myelin, and therefore the white matter is going to appear dark, and the gray matter is going to appear white. A few of the slides will be stained with Nissl, so that the cell bodies will appear prominently, and in addition various nuclear groups. These latter slides will also be counterstained with Luxol Fast Blue, so that in addition to cells and nuclear groups, we'll be able to outline various neuroanatomical pathways, since they will be stained by the myelin. To begin with, this is the upper cervical cord at approximately C2. Notice the knobby appearance of the dorsal horn. This is the ventral horn. This is the motor region of the spinal cord. That is, that's where the anterior horn cells are. And the dorsal horn is the region in which information from the body is coming into the central nervous system. Note particularly with the dorsal horn, this very light region. This is called the substantia gelatinosa. This area is filled with thousands and thousands of small neurons. And by the way, I might mention that this area receives information from the descending raphe spinal tract, because that tract modifies pain information as it comes into the central nervous system. Right below the substantia gelatinosa is a region sometimes called, the dorsal funicular area. This region contains neurons which will form the lateral spinothalamic tract. Their axons will decussate in the anterior white commissure and later form this tract approximately here in the lateral funiculus called the lateral spinothalamic tract. Note that the ventral horns are rather thin in this region. That's because there are very few muscles that the neurons innervate. The innervation of these muscles occurs primarily at the suboccipital triangle, and a few neurons here also innervate the hyaloid area. This region here is a part of the spinal accessory nucleus. Note how some of the fascicles are traveling laterally and will ascend in the spinal cord through the foramen magnum and then exit again by way of the jugular foramen to innervate the sternocleidomastoid mastoid muscle and also the trapezius. The most important descending motor tract is approximately right here. This is the lateral cortical spinal tract. This tract is very important in clinical medicine, as you know. Damage to this tract anywhere along this area, anywhere along this neuraxis, will result in certain characteristic clinical findings: a Babinski sign, paresis, and spasticity. So in summary, in this section, we have the very important dorsal horn, dorsal columns, which carry vibration, two-point discrimination, and stereognosis by way of the fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus. The fasciculus gracilis carrying information from the leg and lower trunk, the fasciculus cuneatus carrying information from the upper trunk and arm. So we have the posterior columns carrying that information, the lateral spinothalamic tract carrying the very important temperature and pain information, and then the most important motor tract in the central nervous system, the lateral cortical spinal tract. In clinical medicine, these are the three most important tracts that you need to know: the posterior columns, the lateral spinothalamic tract, and the descending lateral cortical spinal tract. This is Dr. Brain. You've now seen the first slide. We'll go on now to the second slide. Okay, now don't tell me here.